mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about Season 3, Episode 4 of Paramount Plus's Mayor of Kingstown, entitled Ragdoll. The episode title here, it's based on a quote from Merle that's tied to an action from Mike. After Mike pushes one of last week's car bombers off the roof of a building, Merle tells him that from that high up, bodies tend to bounce like rag dolls. Generally, I'd say that's kind of a weak justification for the episode title, but in a fairly uneventful episode, I guess it's fine. Nothing else really happened that I could say would make for a better title. I thought this was a fairly lackluster entry this week. Not bad. I don't have anything negative to say about it or anything like that, aside from what I just said, that I thought it was fairly lackluster. But I don't really have much positive either, like, oh, this was a great scene when this happened, or it was a great moment when this happened. The bulk of this episode was focused on finding the individuals who set off the car bombs to end last week's episode. And this was a fairly compelling search. It's just, I think my problem with this episode is that it all kind of feels very unresolved. The show still hasn't even really confirmed who is actually behind these bombings. And I also thought the entire final scene between Mike and Merle was kind of weird too, but we'll get there. This episode did dedicate a couple of scenes to furthering some other plot lines, one of which we haven't seen for a while. But even that forward progress was minimal. So, of course, I'm going to start with the main focus of the episode, the aftermath of the car bombings. Hey everybody, I just want to take a small break from this review to talk about the various other ways you can engage with me on other platforms. If you're so inclined, and I understand why you wouldn't, I am an acquired taste, but you can join the Patreon where you can get extra content like retro reviews, where I review old shows and movies to see if they still hold up today, Mike's Musings, where I talk about shows I'm watching that I don't cover on the channel, or Mike's VOD, where you can commission me to watch a show, which I will then review on the channel. And if you want to engage with me and chat with me more directly, I also implore you to join the Discord and follow the Facebook page. I set up channels in the Discord for all of us to discuss the shows I'm reviewing on the channel, and I also drop new videos in there since it's the easiest platform for me to share to from my phone. The Facebook can be really fun because I sort of live comment on shows I'm watching, often while under the influence, I'm not going to lie. And I'll also share news there, both about television and film, and about myself as well. So if you like my content, you want to be more engaged, you think I'm charming, or you simply want to show support, feel free to sign up for the Patreon or join the Discord or Facebook today. Links to all platforms are in every video description. Remember to share all my shit to your respective social media platforms. And now back to this review. The episode opens with the KPD's response to the bombing. They have checkpoints, helicopters flying around. Ian's out here beating the shit out of people with brass knuckles. Standard KPD behavior. We learned that the bombs were triggered remotely from burner phones, but 2 of them didn't blow, and they were able to trace the numbers from those phones, and they were even able to get a name for one of the 2 suspects, John York. Side note, is that possible? I don't know. Is that possible? Like, if you use a burner phone to trigger a bomb and it doesn't work, can they trace the number back to that? I don't know. I mean, it seems feasible, plausible, but I don't know. Anyway, while this is happening, Bunny's listening over like a walkie-talkie radio or whatever because KPD is conveniently not going digital, and and Bunny is ecstatic that they're searching for a white guy and not a black guy. Fair enough. This is an important moment to me, though, because in the back of my mind, I'm still thinking about Bunny telling Mike how he wants to do bigger things, and then I'm wondering, is Bunny behind this? He seems very invested in how this is turning out in a way that goes beyond, I just don't want it to be black people or me that they're going after. And then later in the episode, the one car bomber that they're chasing, he runs into the Crip neighborhoods, and I'm thinking, is he running to the people who hired him? Like, why didn't anybody else say that? Like, he's running to the Crip neighborhoods. Anybody go, you think maybe he's running to Bunny? I don't know, but it would be wise of Bunny to hire a Aryan Brotherhood person to do this job. They would never think to connect the 2. But now I'm thinking I was maybe just doing too much, and what's really happening is a lot more straightforward and therefore a lot less cool and a lot less interesting. Like, if Bunny was involved, he certainly wouldn't want one of the people that he hired to get caught, let alone caught while running into one of his neighborhoods. But Bunny also later captures this guy and hands him over to Mike. So I guess my desire to interject Bunny into this situation in this way is because a tit for tat back and forth between the police and the Aryan Brotherhood is wildly uninteresting to me. So, but it does look like that's what's happening. I was just really hoping for something a little bit spicier. So while Mike is being filled in on what's happening, Robert and SWAT get called into action. One of the two car bombers is holed up in a gas station bathroom. I don't know if it was a gas station bathroom. I'll call it a public bath. I feel like it was a gas station, but I don't remember anymore. Mike's rightfully suspicious of how well Robert is going to handle this situation. And sure enough, Robert kills this guy at the first available opportunity. Now, yes, the guy did have a weapon, but he also had his hands up. And I kind of hope whether or not Robert was justified in shooting this guy becomes an issue. Especially since Mike didn't see it. Like, if Robert comes under fire for this, one of his own guys would have to give him up. Did I say Mike? Robert comes under fire. I don't know if I said Mike or not. Of course, Mike's pissed because this doesn't give them a chance to find out who gave the order. Like, he didn't even talk to this guy for a second. He just immediately kills him. So Mike's next move is that he decides that he wants to talk to Merle. He visits Kareem, who apparently drinks while he works out. And I can say from experience, the working out while under the influence is highly unenjoyable, and it makes the shit like 100 times harder. But not only does Kareem not give a fuck about the effectiveness of his work, he also doesn't care about his neighbors, since he's blasting music apparently at an ungodly hour. And now his exercise work, not his job work. Listen, the Kareem stuff is not good, you guys. They want to convey that he's still kind of internally dealing with what happened to him during the riot, and his behavior is kind of a manifestation of this. But I'd like to see a little bit more consistency in his coping. Like, last season, that stuff was pretty good. Like, they have him. Didn't his wife find him crying in a closet or something like that? Like, that was a good moment. Drinking PBR and playing loud music while working out is a pretty big step down in how the show is conveying Kareem working through his issues. But Kareem does agree to let Mike meet with Merle, and when they meet, Mike wants Merle to give him a name for who ordered the bombings. Merle agrees if he can be put into Gym Pop, and he's given 6 hours to be out in Gym Pop and get a name. The fact... This is where my issue with this episode kind of starts to come in. The fact that the show has been coy this whole time with who is giving the orders kind of leads viewers to believe, or it could lead viewers to believe, and led this viewer to believe, it's someone other than Merle or Constantine. Like, it makes me think there's more going on. And that's why I toyed around with the idea that Bunny might be involved. But it really seems like it's just Merle who's doing it. So having him constantly act like all of this is like beneath him, like I don't have anything to do with Gunner. What Gunner? Like, and having the show continue to be coy with it is getting kind of bothersome for me at this point. Like, we're 4 episodes in, and both Merle and Constantine are in contact with one another and have some sort of plan, but we've seen none of it play out so far. Like, Constantine showed up to kill Tatiana and her baby, and what has he done since? He's done nothing but reach out to Merle and get berated by Mike. But again, we still don't even have an inkling as to why he's here, why he killed Tatiana, or what he's even doing now. Ever since he killed Tatiana, we've only seen him get cussed out by Mike and then just sit at this strip club and be told, be given a phone to talk to Merle. Merle has transferred, but claims he has nothing to do with Gunner or the car bombings or the funeral bombing. And of course he wouldn't cop to that, but we're sitting in a place right now, 4 episodes into the season, and the show's still being coy with whether or not the bad guys are doing the bad shit. And I just don't see a point to that if it's not going to be them. It's like, so if it is them, why are you pretending like it might not be? And then you have this ending scene with Mike and Merle that just didn't work for me. Before I even get into that, Mike's willingness to work with Merle in general is strange to me. Now, Mike clearly has no issue working with criminals, but up to this point, he's drawn the line at helping out people from his past. Like, they've constantly brought up who he used to be, how he used to behave in prison, all of his former AB brothers, but he's shown nothing but disdain toward the Aryan Brotherhood up to this point. So it's strange to see him say to Merle that if he comes back, that if it comes back, that Merle gave the order to do the bombings, that Merle is screwed. But if Mike finds out ahead of time, he can make it go away. Why would you offer that up, especially if the name that you're expecting to be the person who gave the order is Merle? When I originally saw this scene, I figured Mike was just doing whatever he needed to do to get a name. But then the episode plays out. And I'm going to get to the Mike portion in a moment. And Mike and Merle in the episode having a conversation in which they seem to agree to kind of cooperate with one another. And I don't see how Merle earned Mike's trust. For starters, Merle says when they start this conversation, Merle says that he has a name, and Mike never makes him give it. And again, if it is just Merle who's ordering the car bombings, why are they continuing to be coy about it? Even if it's Constantine, why are you continuing to be coy about it? And then Mike tells him that he's going to get to stay in Gen Pop for cooperating. Like, oh, you get to go right back to Gen Pop. Even Merle looked confused, almost as confused as I was. And he said he's getting to stay because he cooperated. Cooperating how? Exactly. How did he cooperate? By not giving you the name you didn't ask for? Like, Merle plays on the past that they have together, but every white trash piece of shit's tried that with Mike so far to no avail. Why did it seemingly work here? Now, my guess is that Mike may be pretending to agree to be helpful to Merle, but if he's not pretending, Merle's done nothing to earn his help, and it just kind of feels like the show wants to jump to a place where Merle can have some sort of control over Mike and be able to put Mike in some compromising situations without doing what's necessary to make those circumstances plausible. Moving on, though, with one suspect dead at Robert's hands, the focus shifts on finding the other guy and making sure that Robert doesn't kill that guy too. I like how Mike even gives him that. He's like, yeah, make sure we ask him some questions and we don't kill him first. And then Robert's like, why are you looking at me? Like, what do you mean? Why am I looking at you? So the other guy and an accomplice steal a car. During the ensuing car chase, there's an accident and both guys take off in separate directions, but the accomplice is caught. Kyle talks this guy down, and he seems like he may be able to get some info out of him and everything until Robert arrives and makes everyone really fucking nervous, both the people on the show and the audience watching it. I don't know, he's making me think that he's just going to smoke this guy in cold blood. But the other guy, he's ran into a Crip neighborhood, and Bunny captures him, and he hands him over to Mike. Mike takes the guy on the roof to try to get him to essentially give Merle's name, but all this guy does is give Mike shit over his past and essentially call him a race traitor. He even alludes to having some knowledge of the bombing at Miriam's funeral, which pushes Mike over the edge and causes him to push this guy over the edge. I guess my overarching issue here is that as of now, I find both Constantine and Merle to be your very standard, basic copy and paste villains. And with 4 episodes complete, the show is still playing coy with whether or not they're even actually doing the villainous shit anyway. So, and that also kind of like undermines their villainy, because I still can't sit here and be like, these two guys have done these terrible things. Well, I mean, Constantine has done the baby thing, but Merle, I can't sit here and be like, oh, Merle has done Merle tried to bomb a funeral, I can't sit there and do that, and we're 4 episodes in. If this is supposed to be the main bad guy, I can't even tie any bad activities to him yet, so it kind of undermines his villainy. This episode, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna move on now. This episode also dedicates a couple of scenes to, I was going to say moving a couple of subplots forward, but I think it's debatable whether or not they were moved for a couple of subplots to get some screen time. So Anna, Paula Malcolmson, Ray Donovan's wife, who we saw in episode 1, she shot the guy who killed her son. She confidently pleads guilty to this crime in court, shows no remorse, and then outside the court, Mike asks Evelyn to essentially just take it easy on her. Don't go. I think she said it's life without parole, and he's like, give her something where she can get out. Either give me that scene plus another, or you save that shit until you want to pair it with something meaningful. That scene felt like a complete waste of time, and it was so far detached from when we last saw Anna, it just really, I don't understand the decision-making behind putting that scene and that scene alone in this specific episode. Then we have another scene where the CO that is related to and works for Bunny tries to snitch on another guard to Kareem. Now, I'm guessing the person that he's snitching on is the guard that allowed in that redhead from last week that met with Merle. And I guess this is meant to show us that he's continuing to work for Bunny and that Kareem won't be easily manipulated. But again, that scene could have used another one to kind of pair with it. Like maybe have a scene of Bunny telling that CO to handle the guard that let in the redhead. Then have this scene. That way we can go, oh, okay, that was kind of a half-assed effort to her handling it, but he did follow Buddy's directions and he did try to take care of his guard. As it stands, the scene ended and I was kind of like, okay, so he tried to snitch and he failed. To what end? Like, why did I need that scene this week? So again, just like the other one, I don't understand the placement of only that scene in this specific episode at that specific time. It felt so shoehorned in. Lastly, Robert speaks highly of Kyle's ability to talk down the accomplice from earlier, but then he goes up to Kyle and he kind of chastises him over it. I don't know if this is leaning toward Kyle joining SWAT. I don't know where it's going, period, for Kyle, but that's another one where I was just like, well, what was that scene for? So yeah, that's all I got for this week. It was a fine episode. I give it like a B or something like that. It's fine, but it just nothing particularly great. I can't go, oh, this was a great moment or that was a great scene. Nothing like that. Minimal progress, I think, was made overall, and I am kind of starting to become, I don't want to say impatient because this was the first episode that I had this issue, but it is, I don't know, it's bothersome to me that they're still being coy about who's behind the bombings, especially if it is just Merle and Constantine or Constantine. Why are you being coy about it? Like I said, you're undermining your villain's villainy. So let me know what you thought about this episode in the comments, and until next week, peace.